Welcome to a new edition of Mundo Nómada. My name is Enrique Roblonsky, and we are in Ciudad de La Paz, Baja California Sur, Mexico, on the terrace of this building, and we are here with a couple who are travelers and have been traveling for the past 5 years now. They have traveled to many different parts of Latin America, and they are going to tell us about their experiences.
Our names are Tatiana and Julian. This traveler's dream started 5 years ago, with the dream to get to know Latin America by traveling the north and seeing the different cultural backgrounds of each place. An example is us renting a car and driving down to Mexico. At first, we traveled with my sister and a friend. We started in San Pedro, Argentina. Then we drove to Buenos Aires with the car that was given to us from my dad, and then we headed to Chile. We have also traveled to Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia, and in December we went to Santa Marta.
I had gone on vacation to Colombia for a month. I had a job and a house, but I decided to go on vacation and celebrate the holidays. When I got to Santa Marta, I met Juli, and he was doing what I always wanted to do, which was to travel. So what I did was I left everything behind. My family, my friends, my job, everything. Then I started traveling with Juli, and that's when the real adventure began.
Did your job answer you back?
Of course, the director at the library, who was also my boss, said that she understood my reasonings and let me leave. But she also said that if I ever decided to return back home, that I always had a job at the library and at that place permanently, no matter what.
And how did your families take the news?
At first, they didn't like the idea and thought that we were crazy. They kept asking us where we would stay, what would we do if we have run out of money, and the basics. But I believe that as you travel, you'd ultimately find the answers to those questions.
Well, my mom cried for an entire week straight. As every mom, she worried because she didn't know where I would stay or what I would do. But my dad told me to go for at least 2 months and then come back and continue my ordinary lifestyle. Then my mom came to visit me, and she saw that I was doing well and let me continue my dream, which was to travel. She had also met Juli that week as well.
That part was a bit tough, but now we get along with Laura. She saw that we were happy doing what we love, and I think that that is important in life to be happy.
After Colombia, what else has happened with you two?
At first, we started with our savings, but then we learned to make artistry by the culture and much more. We also had a teacher in Peru named Elton who has traveled for 4 years now, and we ran into him in Chile. He taught us how to make these things, and he said that it would be useful.
Where is Elton from?
Bueno, nació en Ecuador, los papás son colombianos, vivió mucho tiempo en Colombia, vivió mucho tiempo en Ecuador, yo lo conocí en Perú y ahora anda con una chica, creo que es peruana, y están viviendo en Chile. Se llama Tatiana, exactamente. Tienen un hijo y están súper felices.
It's funny because we have always run into Elton in different parts of our travels, and every time we would run into him, we would always talk about what we would do and our future travels as well, but we always ran into him.
After Colombia, have you guys still traveled selling crafts?
Well, in Colombia, during that time, I saved a lot of money for my travels and expenses, and also to use the ferry as well. You see, during that time, there was a ferry that people used to go from Cartagena to Panama, but the ferry was very expensive.
This all happened in 2014. We were lucky enough to use the ferry before it closed. Now people have to look for alternatives when they're traveling. We were lucky to only spend $200.
After that, we went to Colón and Panama. There was also a hostel that we stayed at and also worked at. It was very weird at first since I never had experience working at a hostel. In that hostel, I also made some of my stuff and sold it as well, in order to make more money on the side.
Yeah, what I did there was play rugby, which is a sport that I played all my life. I met someone who offered me a job as a coach, and we went to schools, jails, and much more to coach people on the sport, and I did the job for about 6 months. Afterwards, I went to a small town called San Blas, and there we met a small group of indigenous people. That was an incredible experience because the head of the trip met us up and received and treated us well. The trainer also came with us and we continued there with the rugby project.
And Tati, what did you do during that time?
Well, I decided to stay in Panama to work by making things to sell and make more money on the side for our future travels. But during that time, that was also the first time my mother had come to visit me, and so I decided to show her around the area and travel a bit with her, especially since I haven't seen her for a while. I showed her the beaches and the surrounding areas, and after that, we went to Costa Rica, and there we stayed with a family that Juli had met a while back in his travels.
In Paraguas, Peru, we met some people traveling south, but we were traveling north. We met this group of people in the morning on a beach and we crossed paths and exchanged maps. We also promised them to cross paths, I think because we all feared to never see each other again. And afterwards, in Costa Rica, we measured them and stayed with them for Priscilla's birthday.
When I first got there, it felt weird, but I liked the feeling because it felt like I was staying with my family and friends from back home in Colombia. We originally planned on staying for a weekend, but we ended up staying for a few weeks instead because it truly felt like we were home and like we were with our families and friends from back home as well. It was all so unreal.
The hardest thing when one is traveling is leaving behind your family, home, and loved ones. But now we have families in different parts of the world. I believe that that is one of the best feelings traveling and getting to know new people. It makes us feel more at ease with the future travels.
Costa Rica was an incredible experience that I will never forget. I am a lover of animals and I saw so many in my travels. An example of that was I saw a poisonous serpent hanging on a tree and much more. Like, I saw many crocodiles, monkeys, everything. Everything was just so unreal. It was just incredible being able to see all these different kinds of exotic animals that I thought I would never see in my lifetime. Then you go and continue your everyday life, such as to sell things and meet new people who invite you to have lunch, dinner, etc. Everyone there was just so easygoing, and I will never forget that trip.
We also did a trip to Nicaragua. In Nicaragua, during that trip, we hitchhiked. In Costa Rica, we met this couple from Uruguay and they didn't dare to cross Nicaragua, Honduras, or El Salvador because of the problems those countries are facing.
Once you get there, you realize that it's not that bad. But from hearing all of the time how dangerous a place is, one will obviously not go because of living in fear. We met a girl in Panama who was scared to travel alone and then ran into her in Nicaragua.
We were in San Juan, Nicaragua, and we wanted to go to an island there to see the volcanoes and go swimming with the sharks. We did that hitchhiking, and along the way, we ran into a friend, and from there, we headed to Guatemala, but we had already traveled for 2 or 3 weeks.
During that time, we were in Nicaragua. Then we headed to Honduras, and then we headed to El Salvador. The heat in those areas was very unbearable. And when we were at El Salvador, we knew a group of travelers who were staying at this artillery house, and what they would do is they would go to Taco, a small touristic town in El Salvador, nearby the town we were staying, and what they would do is they would sell the things that they made. And they would actually make a lot of money because of all the tourists who went and bought stuff from them, which is why we decided to do the same. On weekends, the people also wouldn't work. They would just stay home and relax. But those weeks there were incredible, and it was actually one of my favorite trips so far because the culture and everything, it was just one of the best times of my life.
The people in El Salvador really surprised us with how friendly they were, especially with the rumors of how dangerous it is and people saying that they are going to kill you and stuff. But as soon as we got in there, people were so welcoming and friendly. An example is that we would go to hotels and ask them to use their showers, and then if they had a room available, they would give it to us for free. At restaurants, we would go and ask if they could see our crafts, and they would say always yes. It was truly amazing.
Another thing that happens a lot when we travel, and not just only us but other travelers, is that when we travel and ask to sell our products, a lot of places don't have permission, which makes it harder for us to make money. But in El Salvador, it was the complete opposite. It was really weird because many people would just come and buy stuff from us without knowing who we were or what we were selling. Even the cops would come and buy stuff from us themselves. We also met a couple who are completely in love, and when we returned, we saw them again and all of their dogs as well. It's just nice being able to go back to a country and have friends and be able to stay with them. It makes you feel more at home and more at ease when you're traveling.
We also stumbled upon Mexico, and that trip really captivated us. The beaches were incredible, and the culture and people were amazing. It was a truly amazing trip over all the deserts and everything. It was also a very, very organized area, too. After all, if we have the chance to go back to Mexico, we would go back.
What are your plans from here on out? Here in Southern California, in Baja California, Mexico. And how long have you guys been here?
We've been here since 2016. We started with Tijuana and then we came here. We fell in love with this place, including the beaches and the landscapes. We used to be in Quintana Roo in Consumel, and then we stumbled back in Southern California, and we've been happy ever since then.
Another place that we've been to and have also wanted to go to for some time was Cuba. The reason why we couldn't go in the past was because we kept going through so many problems, but we finally did it, and it was really nice too because we did it for our birthdays, which was a nice birthday gift for one another.
When is your guys' birthday?
Our birthdays are on the same month, on the 4th and 11th of October.
It's nice because we get to go and travel as a gift for one another.
The scenery, the culture, the people, the beaches, especially the beaches, everything about Cuba was great. We want to go back and sell our crafts and do some things for the island because it's just a beautiful place to go and visit.
Regarding to the question you asked earlier, usually when we travel somewhere we stay at a place for some time, but not long, especially since all we've been doing is traveling whether it is by foot, car, or any other form of commute. We have the tranquility of being able to do this freely and not plan as much.
Also, when one is traveling, you don't really need a lot, just a few items and a pair of PJs, and you're good to go.
What advice would you give to potential travelers who want to go out and adventure but are too scared to do it or don't have a lot of financial resources.
I agree. There is nothing that you have to do. Just don't let the fear hold you back. Especially since something bad can happen anywhere, no matter where you are. The good thing about traveling by yourself is that if a problem come across, you have to fix it right in there without the help of anyone. But it also helps you become more independent. Luckily, we have each other to relate on. One thing I will say is that if you run out of money or anything like that, don't be afraid to ask people for help. There are a lot of people out there who do want to help, and it is okay to ask. Don't let society to tell you what is right or wrong. Always follow your instinct because it leads you to meeting great people.
And most importantly, it's something useful to do and will help one grow as a person. One also doesn't have to only do crafts. It can be other things that they can sell as well, such as food, and an example of that can be cookies, cupcakes, mini cakes, etc. You can sell whatever you like.
We've met different people from around the world who do and see different things. They do all kind of stuff such as selling their photos by making them into postcards and much more. What a lot of people also do nowadays is they sell their stuff online because it doesn't only saves time, but it also makes it easier for others. Especially since competitors are now for making these things easier.
I
They
think that is
simplify
really
things.
important to do something that allows you to travel freely, because you don't need a lot to travel besides a few items and money to buy food and have a roof over your head for the night. But other than that, you don't need much. One question we get asked a lot is, do you make enough money? And there are times where we are doing great, and then there are times where we run short. But it's never been to the point where we've been on the streets or asking people for money. You basically have to have the passion for these things. Then these things will come your way during your travels. But always remember to never hold back and do the things that one likes and the things that you like as well.
Thank you, guys. I will see you both in my future travels.